Lovers of lore, thank you for joining me for the second installment of the Outlaws of Thunder Junction storyline. Diving right in, this part of the story starts with Yuma. He is tending his bar when an old acquaintance storms in angrily. Now, Yuma's thunderbow sat nearby, but it was partially disassembled since he had been trying to make some improvements to it. He wished that it was in firing shape, because the woman standing before him, Elnor, had fire in her eyes. That was nothing, however, compared to the flames she unleashed in Yuma's face. She had a snake demon twined around her arm. Yuma was untouched by the flames, but the glasses that were hanging nearby were now dripping into melted pools. Where's the money, Yuma? Where all money goes. It's gone, Elnor. The story then flashes back in time to Yuma and Elnor's origins. They were originally from New Capenna, part of the Riveteers, but the Riveteers had become racketeers. Yuma and Elnor wanted to build something, not shake people down. It started out hopeful. Others joined in with them, Shadris the tailor, and some other individuals who were long lost now, either dead or in jail. They all set up in an abandoned warehouse, but the owner of the warehouse found out and wouldn't give them access to their possessions and the land unless they paid rent. With no options, they turned to crime. Elnor was a real looker with natural charm. Gambling, drinking, flirting, she was a fantastic distraction. She was so good, in fact, that Yuma had tried to pass himself off as a lady because of her, but had no real success. Elnor's results were so strong, though, that it kept him trying for a few years before he gave it up as useless. Elnor would ply her charms, and the dirty work of train robbery and safe smashing was left to the rest of them. They had no problems with rent after that. Shadris suggested that they buy their own building, and the others agreed. They took on sizable debt to buy the building, which in turn required more brazen thievery. They were in debt to powerful people. Yuma got spooked and pulled up stakes one day, fleeing into the Omen Paths. He wanted to escape the life that they were trapped in, but he had no idea where he would end up. He had only taken roughly the equivalent of a month's interest worth of money when he had departed. Now, back in the present, Yuma chucks a bottle at Elnor. He needed to keep her away from Kiri, the small cacti folk that Yuma had befriended. And Kiri was currently on the bar, curled up in a basket, looking very much like an everyday regular cactus. Yuma dived sideways as the bottle smashed into the demon's face, sending it shot wide and covering Elnor in broken glass. The demon was momentarily stunned. Yuma fumbled with his thunderbow, praying he could get it in working order fast enough. It was larger and more complicated than most thunderbows. He found it incredibly useful, though, to intimidate people who might cause problems in his bar. Yuma asked Elnor why it had taken her a full year to come after him. He had almost died in the desert a year ago when he arrived on Thunder Junction. Capenna was a smoggy place where the sun didn't really shine properly, and Yuma wasn't used to the direct sun's heat. Combined with his flashy outfit of all black clothing, because style really mattered on Capenna, but black clothing does not agree with the sun, it wasn't too long before heat exhaustion set in and Yuma sat down. He was saved by a tiny cactus folk. This was when he met Kiri. Kiri had just come to awareness. He didn't understand the world, and Yuma felt a driving need to help out. He lifted the little guy up and wrapped him inside his jacket to protect against his cactus spines. He needed to find water for the both of them. He reasoned that water flows downwards, so he headed towards low ground and found himself a dry riverbed that luckily still had cool water under the sand. Now, back in the present, Yuma explained that he spent all of the money on the bar. The snake demon had recovered by now, and Yuma had had time to get his thunderbolt back in working order. They traded shots, and the bar took the brunt of the damage. Yuma was stuck behind the bar, while Elnor had free range of the entire place. So to change things up, Yuma leapt over the bar and barreled upstairs to the second floor. Elnor, for her part, calmly set the entire staircase ablaze. Yuma cursed himself for carpeting those stairs. They fed the flames too well, wasted money. He bolted into a bedroom just before a huge hole was blasted in the door. "Stop destroying my bar!" he bellowed at Elnor. "Stand still and let me get a clean hit then." Yuma came up with a plan. The bedrooms here, they're all connected. He could slip into the next room and circle behind Elnor. But when he ran into the next room, Elnor was already there. She had anticipated this move, and the demon's fire took Yuma full on. He barely got his arm up in front of his face in time, and he screamed as he burned. She could have done worse. Yuma feared she would. Kiri had somehow clambered up to the second floor. He stared at Yuma, his look inscrutable. Yuma tried to force him to leave with his eyes, but no luck. Kiri just sat there. "It's not gonna work, Yuma. I'm not dumb enough to turn around. I know nobody's behind me." Yuma had a sudden realization. This wasn't about money at all. This was about Shadris. What had happened on Capenna had ruined her, fighting over money. And Elnor's attitude now meant one thing. Shadris was dead, and Shadris had been Elnor's world. Elnor was unfairly blaming Yuma for this, and he knew her next shot would be fatal. He could see it in her eyes. She knew his tactics too well and had been one step ahead of him the whole time, so he tried something unthinkable, destroying his own bar. He blasted the expensive mirror behind the bar. That got Elnor to turn around in shock. Then Yuma leapt on her and yanked the snake demon from her arm and hurled it across the room. Yuma led Elnor to her feet. "I don't expect forgiveness from you." Elnor sneered. "I'm not going to be your friend now, Yuma. Never again." Yuma looked away. "I don't ever want to see your face again, Elnor. I've lost a lot of money today with the damage you've done to my bar." She smiled back at him bittersweetly. They both noticed the rain had abruptly stopped falling on them, and that was because Kiri had reached out with numerous vines from his little cactus body. They ran up along the walls, opening into giant red flowers that blocked the holes in the ceiling and drank up all of the rain. Kiri was floating mid-air above the bar, suspended by these vines. His vines are like no other plant in the multiverse. Yuma had actually asked around. They added humidity to the dry desert air in a way that was irresistible to Yuma's customers. Elnor was puzzled. Where did this little guy come from? "Been here the whole time." Elnor looked around at the bar. "Congratulations on turning our money into nothing." That being said, Elnor whistled for her snake and then walked out of Yuma's bar and his life forever. All right, my friends, that ends the second installment of the Outlaws of Thunder Junction story and marks the introduction of the Sandalorian, because Yuma definitely gives some of those Mandalorian vibes with his little cactus buddy. I hope that you enjoyed the story. Come on back tomorrow for the next installment. In the meantime, go enjoy some more stories on the channel. Big thank you to all of our members and patrons for supporting what we do here. If you enjoy these videos, then join the Patreon or the channel membership to support this channel. Go have fun enjoying some more stories, because remember, my friends, lore is life.